Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to our first Inside Look webinar series that we're kicking off today. This will be the first of many to come, so we just want to thank you all for attending. We have so many customers who have built incredible and creative solutions using our products here at Conga, and just a very common use case in contract is contract management. So Orbitz is going to give you an inside look into how they transform their contract approval and execution process. But before we get started, just a little housekeeping. We are going to have questions at the end, so if you have any questions at all, please enter them into the question box and feel free to enter them as we go so you don't forget your question. All right. So with that, I want to introduce myself. Of course, I am Patricia Cameron with Conga. I am the Director of Strategic Accounts here. Some of you may know me from Salesforce.com, as I spent almost 10 years there working with countless customers like yourselves to help them achieve success with just the many cloud solutions they offer, and recently left to join Conga in March of this year. So I can tell you that the number one request from many customers that I worked with is understanding what other customers are doing, and, how they create success so we can all learn from each other. So today, our guest speaker is Melissa VanDyke. And Melissa, can you introduce yourself and just share a little bit of background about your role at Orbitz?
Yes, hi. My name is Melissa VanDyke, and I'm Salesforce Administrator for the Hotel Strategy Organization at Orbitz, covering about 250 users spanning 5 teams, including sales and account managers, which that team makes up the largest group. I started as the Sales Analyst Global Coordinator for our VP of Hotel Services in 2012 and was promoted as they made me our very first official Salesforce admin at Orbitz in 2013 to represent our Salesforce team. So we were a team of 1, and now we have grown to a team of 2. And I'm responsible for engineering solutions for the hotel business, specifically around business process improvement opportunities.
Awesome. Just the person we want to talk to today. So before we turn it over to you, Melissa, I wanted to highlight what the audience will learn and take away from today's session. And I think most of us would agree that contract management is at the heart of many sales processes. And it's also a key capability that just contributes to revenue generation, which impacts all of us, impacts how we do business, which is a very big topic. And sales automation at its core just enables that pipeline visibility, the sales process consistency, and contracts is what ties all this together. So you're going to learn how Orbitz created their end-to-end contract solution and the strategy they took to generate just incredible efficiencies for their division. You're also going to learn how to enable a global sales team and how you transform that user experience that drives the customer experience to achieve some pretty incredible results that we're going to share with you. And lastly, how to standardize and automate the contract process to eliminate the need for approval and to create that sales effectiveness, the productivity that we all strive for. And of course, no webinar is complete without a demo. So Melissa will also provide a demo of her solution and what she built using Conga Composer and DocuSign. So Melissa, can you give everyone just some background on what your division of Orbitz does and just a snapshot of your results and what the challenges were that led to those results? And then we'll get into and we'll talk about your success strategy and then we'll dive into the demo.
Yeah, thanks. So we were having trouble. So we knew that there was some opportunities to improve how we manage our contracting process for the hotel team. And we were having trouble reading our scanned and faxed documents. They were also not integrated with our Salesforce environment, so it was hard to make that connection of pipeline and understanding the visibility in our conversion rate, for example. So we knew that we wanted to try to pull better data, enhance our reporting and visibility into our pipeline. So we started looking at what our options were, and we were introduced to Conga on the App Exchange and DocuSign.
So I'm going to kind of go through these here, and we were able to expand pipeline visibility and curtail excessive discounting by moving away from the old PDF and faxed documents going back and forth and using email as a way to do the approval process. Instead, now we have everything combined into this workflow. We've eliminated the need for legal approval on 90% of our contracts because we're signing a standard template that's already been approved by legal. Then we remove the need for them to go in and approve throughout this process because we guarantee that the signed document is what was already approved by legal. We close deals faster. Obviously, signing electronically is easier than printing and scanning and faxing. And overall, all of this adds up to we've accounted that it generated 82% efficiency improvement on what our global team was spending on contract processing prior to the new flows.
Okay, excellent. And we wanted to highlight the steps of building a successful contract management strategy because all too often we focus on the technology, which is very important, but having a plan to get there is equally important. So Melissa, can you tell us what state your Salesforce usage was at and how you tackled the organizational readiness to kind of take on this major transition?
Yeah, absolutely, and you're right. There's a lot of work that goes up front. As anybody knows who tries to get a big project or a new change implemented in a corporate setting. So we definitely knew that there was a challenge with so many PDFs and scanned documents and unable to have really good visibility. So we started researching. It took me about 3 months to complete versions of the business case and brought everybody together, VPs on all level, and we ended up presenting it to our CFO in order to get the green light for our budget and to move forward with this type of a project, which ultimately could impact the entire company, even though we were moving forward with just the hotel team. This kind of a change could go company-wide.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that. And so the technology, so why did you choose Conga and DocuSign, albeit a loaded question?
Yeah, so as Conga Composer, first of all, I got lucky. I got a really great contact there at Conga, who was the first point of contact. So he was able to walk me through the real benefits, showing me the super cool Conga buttons, and my use case was really complex, and he was able to prove to me pretty easily that Conga Composer was made for the kind of implementation that I was looking to do. And the integration with DocuSign was obvious when I was talking with both of companies, and so it was clear that it would make a great match.
Awesome. Yeah, and that leads to the next question. Really, what was the size of your implementation? I know you mentioned a little bit about it, and how long did it take you to implement, to roll out?
So once we got the green light and everything got approved and we were able to sign all the contracts, we were live with a global rollout, about 250 people within 6 to 8 weeks from that go live. So all the configuration and setup was relatively quick, considering what a big impact it's made. So for us, when we do training, we have a global team. So we set up for a big change like this, we do 2 trainings for each super region. So we would have one for the Americas, which is Latin America and the United States, and then EMEA region, and then Asia Pacific. And then we provide very detailed workflow documentation, which has been a huge success. I don't have as many questions as I think I would if we didn't have a few-page document that's kind of very clear on which part of the workflow they're in at any stage and what the next step would be. And it's been the time put into that kind of documentation has really helped a lot.
Yeah, no, I bet. Well, I think it's now time for the demo. So probably the best part is showing what you guys have built. So I'm going to pass control over to you. Okay.
All right. So we have a custom object called HPA. It's fancy for contracts. It's a hotel participation agreement. And so our users go into our HPA object. They create a new standard HPA, and we go ahead and name it whatever we want. Awesome. Deal A, and then we make sure that we indicate who the actual contract owner is. Sometimes it's not the person entering it. We choose our brand, some other basic fields that we care about when we decided that we wanted to capture some information during the contracting process. And then we choose the person that we would want to get the documents when we send it electronically. So just a few fields, and they're often running. And then the way we work is that we can associate multiple hotels to one agreement if we need to. So we use a junction to associate those hotels. And the really great thing that Conga Composer brought to the table was that they made it clear that if we had this use, that this was one of my biggest use cases, and they said, absolutely, we can dynamically bring in a related list and draft it right into your document so that all of the information is there in a table. And so that was a big deal for us. So as you can tell, we have a couple of business terms here, and I wanted to highlight this ability to leverage Salesforce and Conga Composer in order to really look at who needs to approve a business term change without having to use email. So we default to our default business terms here, and let's say the end user wanted to edit this and go down, which is pretty popular. Obviously, we always try to get the best deal. So they save that, and that's going to trigger workflows in the back end that says, oh, this is a change to the business term, and it has to be submitted for approval. So this submit button comes up, which removed our ability to see our Conga button to create the document. So the end user can't create the document right now until they get approval from their direct manager for this change. So they would submit, and their manager will be notified. It's just a regular approval flow at this point. Once the manager approves, it pops it back into this record type that has our create HPA or Conga Composer button back on it. So now that these business terms have been approved, we can go ahead and have permission to create the document with Conga Composer. So when this comes in, obviously I'm not in my live environment, and so we don't have DocuSign in here, so you can't really see exactly what I wanted to, the exact locked down process. So what we have between Conga and DocuSign is that we can lock down, because of the dynamic ability of the Conga button, we can lock this down and say, you have, as an end user, you don't have any rights to choose anything when you send this out. It has to be what has been created, which is this document, which is nicely put in our business terms. It's put in the right legal entity. You guys all know Conga and the ability to enter any fields dynamically, and they have no ability to change this. So this is how we were able to reduce our legal, we don't need our legal team to review this document when it goes out to get signed. So the supplier, the hotel, would get this document, and then through DocuSign they'd have to enter these fields, and it syncs back into Salesforce once they sign it, and it triggers it off to the next step. So at this point, as an end user, I would see, because I sent this out, I'm just going to kind of rig it here and pretend that DocuSign went out, and our workflow will trigger it to move into a pending status that shows that it's being signed by the hotel. So it's issued to hotel, and then using the integration with DocuSign at this point, it would just move it throughout the different stages. And to give you an idea, since I wasn't able to show you the button, this is the code on the Conga Composer button in order to make it have that ability to lock down and define your template. You'd use the DS7 equals 17. That's what defaults for my end users. So at this point, it would be simply going through Salesforce workflows to get it to the final stage. Once the hotel signs, everyone's notified, and then OWWs, our signers sign, and then it moves over to fully executed. And that's it.
That's great, Melissa. I see many takeaways here. I mean, you guys have done a great job moving a process that was happening in multiple places into Salesforce, right? Enabling just that data accuracy and the transparency, especially, which provides that executive level insight, right, into your close opportunities, your conversion rate. Just the transparency is fantastic. And I especially like how you locked down and standardized the discounting just to protect against potential liabilities, because that is a big, big concern for a lot of our customers. And you're really leveraging the platform functionality there, which I liked. And I would say you've absolutely dramatically improved the user adoption and the user experience of using Salesforce, adding Conga and DocuSign solutions, of course, which is what we love to see. So I'm going to take control back. And so I guess, my question is, what's next after all this success? What is next for you? Hold on, I know we have a slide there. Yeah, what are you thinking about doing next?
So we're looking at, so in quarter two, we moved, we enhanced this process and moved our strategic accounts team and our legal team into Salesforce, using an advanced flow similar to what we just looked at. But those agreements tend to be more heavily negotiated and need a back and forth process. So we've implemented that along with amending the amendment process so that any amendments are associated directly to the master agreement. We're also looking at growing this out to our merchandising teams in order to allow our account managers and sales teams to say, hey, come and sign up with us at this. We have a really great deal coming out in your market. We really love for you to participate in automating the sign-up form process using Conga Composer. The last thing is that we're looking to upgrade to Conga Conductor in order to be able to send out batches of these special program offers to ask people to sign up. And to do that, the Conga Conductor looks like it's going to be a really great enhancement to really make these processes bigger and better.
That's right. You can only go up from here. That's excellent. Well, thanks, Melissa. So with that, I'm just going to turn it over to the audience and see if there are any questions for Melissa or myself, certainly. And here we go. They're coming in. See, there's a little bit of a delay. Awesome. So, Melissa, how do you connect? How you connect to DocuSign, or how do you connect with DocuSign? And this question is from Kim.
How do I connect through?
I think this is a two-part question. I know we have code and Conga. How do you connect with DocuSign? I think that's the question.
Oh, so we connect with DocuSign through that Conga button, actually. Conga is so integrated with DocuSign that they have specific DocuSign codes that you put into that Conga Composer button, and then it tells it, hey, after you've built this great template and everything's ready to go, use DocuSign in order to send it out. And there is some setup with DocuSign on the back end. They call it DocuSign for Salesforce or Salesforce Connect for DocuSign, and you have to configure that on the DocuSign interface to make sure that those fields are syncing. But it's a really great way for you to go out and have required fields that you're trying to solicit from your customers or from your clients or partners, and say, hey, as you're signing, give me this great information, and I can sync that back into Salesforce using this kind of flow.
Excellent. Hopefully that answers your question, Kim. And it sounds like the adoption of DocuSign went really well as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super intuitive and super easy to use. It's really seamless to the end user.
Yeah, awesome. And Kim, there's also documentation on DocuSign, but please, by all means, reach out to your business analyst if you need help with that. We're here to help you. The next question is, do you think the biggest benefit of the Orbitz solution was for the legal team?
I'd say that's pretty fair. You're absolutely right. I mean, they were looking at documents which they didn't really need to be looking at, just to make sure that it was the actual standard agreement that we were saying was the standard agreement. When you don't have any lockdown processes, and it could be anything, then you have to look at it, make sure someone didn't handwrite or make a change to the agreement. And that's really what you get with this process, is that if it's signed electronically, there's no way that they could have made any changes to it without asking you to make the change.
Yep. No, I know. I absolutely agree. And I know it benefited you as well. I know you had some pretty, uh, yeah,
I used to spend
yeah,
every Friday printing documents for our VP to sign and scanning them back in.
yeah. No, there's absolutely the manual component is absolutely replaced. And it looks like there's another question as well. Is, was there any concern about rolling this out to a global team?
So yeah, there's a concern from the standpoint of um, thinking like language barriers or flexibility with training and documentation. Our team has come together really well and translated some documentation. The adoption is for our side, for our users, is huge. I mean, everyone's using it. It's when you get to like Asia Pacific, you get some language barriers where the team really needs to hold the hand and try to get them to use the technology because it might not be in their language. But other than that, we try to work with that, and it actually hasn't been as hard as I thought it would be.
Right. And I believe you created, I want to say 13 bilingual templates. Don't quote me on the number, but
Yes. Yes, and I forgot to show that in the demo, but I have a pick list on that form that we looked at that says it defaults to English, but if the team wants to pick some other language that we have available, then Conga Composer goes out and picks the right template that correlates to that language. And we just had to provide, just so we have the translation, we can load that as a new template in the Conga Composer template section and just associate it to it. So we have about 17 languages
okay,
right now.
awesome. Fantastic. And obviously it's been very well received within the organization. You had indicated that it may grow into other parts of Orbitz, given the success that you've experienced.
Absolutely. I'm the annoying cheerleader that runs around the hallways and says everybody should be using, this kind of a thing for their contract management. So I'm popular with legal for that because I've been able to prove to them, like someone else had just asked, they are greatly benefited from this type of a solution. So
Yeah, they're a
they
tough
let me
audience.
go and
They're a
exactly.
tough
So it's
audience.
good to have their backing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, everybody wants it.
That's great. Let's see. Any other questions? I think that could be it. Um, yeah. Well, Melissa, I want to thank you so much for showing us your solution today. I really appreciate it, and I think our attendees did as well. And I want to thank everyone for coming. And Melissa, I want to thank you for your time. And everyone have a great rest of the day.